Am I audible? Okay, okay. A very good evening to all. I, Tejasvi Patnaik, Treasurer and Publicity Chair of IEEE YCC SB, welcomes you all in today's webinar, IEE Region 10 New Innovation Challenge under Educational Activities SEDP Skills for Employment Development Program presents Innovation Challenge Game-A-Thon. Today is the fourth day, and our Anmoldeep sir is from our CTech department, a web developer core member of GDG Nagpur. I warmly welcome you, sir, today. We had a great interactive session yesterday, and I expect the same. Very thanks to sir. Now I request our speaker to please continue with the session.
Thank you for the warm introduction. So before we start, I just want to have a quick catch up. How many of you were already there in the previous session, the yesterday's session? You can just raise your hands or maybe use the chat box. Yes, a bit of typing effort. No one? Yes, okay. Parikshit, Pranay. Good going, good going. Awesome, decent numbers. So that makes it more favorable to be familiar and expect the basics that we covered yesterday already done. So hello everyone, welcome back once again after an amazing good gaming world. And this time, I know most of you might have tried sometime coding a game yourself, but you must have missed or maybe demotivated for one or the other moment. Even I guess this session was the fifth time I stepped into game development just because again it's interesting. So what we'll be doing today is a much different approach, and that's why I have written it as building games step by step, one leap at a time. Okay, so have a look at what's covered today. We will build easiest JavaScript game. I will be coding this as much as possible if time permits completely, or otherwise another good game, but having a bit more code. So I will just cover it. How many of you know about PWS? Any ideas, guesses? A hint can be given that what is PWA? Come on. It's an often heard term. Anyone? Any guesses at least, or at least a no if you don't know? Cool. We got two answers and both of them are correct. Yes, progressive web apps. Simple apps that can be deployed as a standalone window inside Windows are generally preferred in some use cases for online purpose. So that makes it ideal for deploying our web games. But yes, when it so making a PWA for a beginner can be a bit of troubling task. But when we go for when you have developed games, a few games, and you know how things work, and you then are also a good web developer, then it becomes much of a easy pill for you, because at the end of the day you know how much time it will take, and the 60 to 70% part is actually auto generated and not something that you need to take care of. So that is something that is reassuring as well. But at the end of the day, just remember that if you want to do something, you will find a way. If you really don't want to do something, you will find an excuse. So that same applies into game development as well, just like any other domain. And there will be this top down bottom up. This is something of, I would say, something that generally goes to my Instagram channels, but for the sake of the session, to make it more special for you, I will be disclosing the content before posting it. And after that, we'll be building a few games together. These will be done by using your browsers. So I would just recommend everyone whoever wants to follow up with me during these last three games, browser and a bit decent internet connection. Even if it is slow, it will still work. It will take a few seconds here and there. And that's all for today that we'll go ahead with. And let's dive in. Now, are you ready for the code part? Because from now on, there will not be presentation anymore. It's more of code, of course. Are you ready? Yes or no? Quick yes or no? Yes, yes, yes. Any more? Just two people are ready. Thing that any session needs, because unless and until you are. So let me quickly set up things for you, because I ran it before, so I need to make sure that I roll back the changes so as to show in front of you everything. And let me share my whole screen. Okay, okay, so these are the files for today's session that we'll be covering. Let's dive on to the first easiest game ever. What we'll do is let's create one more easiest JS game. Let's open this in code. How many of you know about VS Code already? And in fact, even if you don't know about it, don't worry. It is at the end of the day just a code editor. Tanay Devgade, okay, good. Any more? Nidhi, Aditya, Vishal, Ved, awesome. Miss Aishwarya, Gargi, Pragya, that's good. That's a really good, decent number of people. So that means we have a few basics set in place. It's taking a few seconds. In the meantime, let me ask this question. How many of you have tried game development before? Any sorts of? Question is, have you tried? Yes or no? And if yes, then just name which one was it. And even if you have made a 3D model, even if you have made just one piece of it, that will work great. Made a Flappy Bird using JS. That's interesting. I would love to see that. Pranay, me, yes. Okay, cool. Guess the number four. Yes, this is something that is really intriguing for those developers who are generally into mobile game development or development. We generally kind of use these as a pet project. Guess the number four, 2048, and all of those. It was the one you made. In Python, okay. Clear. Simon's game. What was? Oh, I remember that. Some it was. What was it? Nidhi, like Simon's game. Can you just tell a few bits about it?
Just like we used to do it in Among Us, the reactor one. The first things blink and then we have to copy that thing again.
Oh yes, now I remember.
Yeah.
Perfect. So here we have our game ready. I just mean opened, not completely ready, and currently black. Surely just an empty space for all your creativity to come into. So the now question is, what should be the first step when I am thinking about a game? Like what will be my follow up? What will be my mental process? Can you name it? Like think the answer is very easy. That's why I'm asking in the first place. Background characters. Okay, this is going a bit on off track because here comes the noise. Because whenever you start thinking, your success rate depends on the your approach, how you approach the challenge.
Didn't get bored.
Through that, truth is spoken again. And making everything, as long as it is anything complex and creative at the same time, the first thing you need to do is lay down what you want to do. So what we will be doing is we will simply make a readme.md file, right? You might have seen it a lot. This is gonna take a short while. I don't know why. Yes. Oh, got it. There is a background process going on. Let me kill that. What's this bug doing on my system? Ha ha ha. And it's done. I hope to get a better response now. Okay. So this game does. It is, let me be honest with you, this is just a simple, most that game, actions, jump, character, obstacles, and anything. What's the logic behind the Dino game that you play on Chrome browsers when there is no internet, and especially those people who have seen the back in the days from what it was called, dial-up connections and all, when there was so much boring stuff to do. But yeah, games saved a lot. Please zoom in on VSC. Okay, for sure. It's better now. Shanta? Cool. So what is dodge obstacles? Yes, for that we have jump. Okay. What else? What is the? I want to ask you, like, what is the logic that keeps the game as a game and not just something moving around? Think of it. What when the game changes? When you don't jump, right? It crashes into barrier. Exactly. So the logic will be crash, or you can say like obstacle, touch, ends the game. Simple logic. Eh? That's exactly what we'll be. Let's start with the basic index. First thing is HTML file. We'll use an HTML5 template here. Let's give it a name, Dino box, because we are not creating a character anymore here. So let's make it pretty simple. What we'll give our Dino box, or let's for simplicity give it the name Jump Game. That's it. Simple. Then we just create a single div. Okay. We'll give it a class. Who can tell me why do we need classes? Any answers yet? Do we have web developers here or not? To add CSS? Yes. Kind of manage CSS multiple styles between elements. We want to sort different options in one category. That's kind of a good answer. Yeah, yes, that can be done pretty well. Because not only just applying CSS helps, having a class also means that you can fetch them using selectors in jQuery or JS. Create a single block. Can you tell me what is this? Like, how am I able to create with this short? It is a simple name and it appeared on the screen as well, if you might have noticed.
User snippet?
But we cannot call it user snippet because snippet is just meaning a piece of code that is generally self-complete and can be used anywhere. User snippet can be called as user-defined snippets that we define for our own purpose. But this is not something I defined. This is something that the IDE, VS Code, offers me. And VS Code calls it what? That is the question. Think, just a few moments. In the meantime, I will tell you anyway. If you notice now, it's on screen now. If you can pay attention enough to spot the word, it's whatever you call it. It's basically sounds emit, and emits are nothing but a shorthand way of writing HTML and some other languages as well. There are some kind of shortcuts, but most useful is for HTML and CSS only. Okay. So we have made what we have made. We have made a game div. We have made a character in it. We have made a block in it because this will be our obstacle. We have created a score span to show what is our current score. Okay. And that's pretty much all HTML that we need. Now, when we are moving to JavaScript, what is the second thing? Yes, Ved and Pariksha. That you were right. You were right. So, what is the second thing we need apart from a JS file? Make it make it be functional over this page. Can
Add
you
it
name
to
it?
the HTML using
Uh,
script tag.
what you said once again?
Add it to the HTML file using the script tag.
There is a much better word for add here. Can you like
Include.
we link it? Okay. These terms are often helpful because when you start thinking about it, it becomes more easy to think when you have distinguished words for each particular perspective or task, and that's why they are there in the first place, right? Going to look pretty much quite ugly because of the tags default styles are very old. So we also need this one thing called as, what do we call it?
Style.css.
Style.css. Yes.
Style.css.
We just give a rel. Rel is like what it relates to or something. Basically, we tell here that it is a style sheet and how to create it, and we give a link to it. So we haven't created it, so let's create it first. Ouch. One S missing. What is this extension for? Can you name it? Despite being
Cascading style sheet.
cascading style sheet, yes, it is .css. But I asked
Cascading style sheet.
what is .cs? Just CS. There is an extension like that. In case you think like it's not. Got it?
Haven't used it yet.
C# files are called to be like they are created in this extension. You can say like program.c is for C program code. .cs is C#. This is something that you will use a lot when it comes to .NET and all sorts of stuff. And for your information, even Windows also has the compiler inbuilt into it, because that is something for another session. It is, think of it like C with object-oriented programming benefits or features. Okay, let's come to the JS part of the game. Get those elements in JS. Can anyone tell me? How do we access an HTML element inside JS?
Event listener.
DOM.
Yes, DOM. But how to access the DOM? Don't worry if it is wrong. Of course, there is nothing wrong in a good environment. First of all, I will need a variable, of course. So let's create some variable. Yes?
Query selector.
You are going on a very right track, but query selectors are something like exactly which one I would like to ask here. There are 2-3 of them.
Like if we have to select any class.
We generally, when it comes to, okay, so boil this, pin this down in your head that whenever we go for a particular element, we generally prefer to go for ID because there cannot be any ambiguity. And when we go for a collection of elements, then we go for a class because we know we will be applying that class on those associated elements from HTML. Okay. So because we created a character and a block with an ID, so that's how we can fetch them here. Just need to pass on the ID of it. Then another. This one is block. Document dot get element by ID. And what is the ID for this? See, block. Keep it simple. That's why it is strongly suggested to keep your variable name simple, because you need to refer it again and again later on when you are coding something. Now there is one more thing. As we pass on an obstacle, we need to see how much obstacles we have passed, right? So how do we track it? We need a what? What do we need? Anyone?
Loop.
Loop is something that we will need to keep it going. Yes, Ved, that is counter. We will need a counter to track how many jumps successfully we have already made. And how should I initialize this? What should be the first value when the program runs?
0.
0.
Yes, because we haven't made any jump yet, so we need it to be 0 in the first place. Only then we can move ahead and think about anything else. But yeah, first of all, it should be 0. If I make a jump, then it should be 1. If I make another successful jump, then it should be 2, and so on. So there is this. We have our basic JS ready, but there is one more thing missing. Like, even this is just a base. What should be the main logic? Jumping, right? When we press a key or something, it should jump. Yes or no?
Yes.
So there are quite a few ways to do this. We can give it a button. We can make it hover any single div, clickable and whatnot. But just for the sake of simplicity, what we will do is we will give the whole HTML tag the feature, the property of being able to click for some to perform some action. This is something that you will learn new, because this is something that I learned while preparing for the session. You can literally go to the HTML tag, add an attribute on click, and in there you can call the method jump. Because we have included this JavaScript file, we can call the JavaScript function inside it. And because we haven't defined it yet, so let's do this. We just need to define the JavaScript function jump. Now, what the function will be doing? Any ideas?
Increment the counter.
Yes, that is a sure thing. So let's do jump, because we didn't pass any arguments, so no arguments here. And one of the things that it will do for sure is incrementing the counter. But wait, if we increment the counter every time we jump, what will happen? Is this correct?
Nope, we need to add break.
Exactly. That's why incrementing a counter won't come into the jump part. It will go into the next phase when we are checking if we jumped on the right time or not. The first thing is to make it jump. So for the sake of simplicity again, we will make it something like, you can say, we'll add some class. Okay. So what class we will add? We will simply add one class called as, like, if the character is already jumping, so that will have that one class that animates it. So instead of going for a fancy name that we later forget ourselves, let's give it the same name as what we are thinking about. Character, not character, this one. Character. Am I correct? Yes, I'm correct. It's just suggesting me something wrong for no reason. But class list equals element. Now what is happening here? Can anyone tell me? What is this? What is the class list in reference to this character div? Ved, Sushanto, Parikshit, anyone? Any guesses?
All the
It will
classes
add the new class name to the existing one.
No, that's add, no?
Yes, Sushanto?
No.
But here? Yes. Exactly right, Nidhi. This gives us the class list. It doesn't add the class. It just tells us what are the classes already included inside that element. In this case, the div character, and it just checks if it is having this class of animate. For example, because we haven't described any class, and we'll be just toggling, adding, and removing the animate class. So the Atomax classes that it will have is animate. Okay. So we can definitely do this. And but if it is animating, what we need to do here? If we click jump and it is animating, what we will do? Can we do something? Because what we wanted to do is already happening.
Increment the counter.
No. Incrementing the counter, let me rectify. It is score counter. The jump won't increase your score. Passing the obstacle will increase your score. So that's why we don't increment the counter all the time. Okay. So we will just return because, of course, you are already jumping. What will happen if you jump? You will jump even higher. And that is not something that we planned for. So to make it simple, we will just return. Now, when there is no such class on character, now we will do the animation part. Yes or no? Yes. This seems right. Quick yes or no? This seems right or not? Like, are we going good? You need to be interactive because otherwise I can go in one flow and finish the session
Yes,
in the next 20 minutes. Yes?
it is true. I mean, we have to add the animate class if it isn't present.
Perfect. What is this class? This class, of course, when it comes to classes, the first thing comes up is CSS because these classes belong to CSS. And inside CSS, we can do animations as well using @keyframes that we will touch in a few seconds once we are done with the adding logic. And because we are adding here, so we know that we don't want to animate it for the whole duration of the game. So what we'll do is we simply set a timeout. Okay. Set a timeout which requires a function. How do we declare a function? The function keyword. You can have function without a name in JS, not in many other languages, but yes, JS allows us. It then removes the class animate. When it will execute, what is this 300? Can anyone tell me?
Milliseconds. I mean,
Yes, exactly, milliseconds. So this correlates to 0.3 seconds. Okay, clear? Are we good? So this much is our JS. Now the animation part that will go inside CSS. So let's open up CSS and do a bit of styling because of course ugly things don't work well when it comes to games. So first of all, this is kind of thumb rule for web developers. Whenever we step into CSS, the first thing we do is we remove the extra spaces that is applied in every element by default. So for that we do star, then padding 0, margin 0, overflow X hidden. What is this overflow X? Do you know?
extra spacing. Horizontal.
What?
Horizontal extra spacing.
Horizontal?
Extra spacing, unnecessary spacing.
Okay, you are talking well, and this is, I would say, this would be possible for padding and margin right and left, but overflow X is a bit different. For example, when you go for a long text and it goes to the end of the element and comes to the next line, instead of coming to the next line, if you want it to go become like text dot 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 and there is no more text that you can see, that is something you can achieve by overflow hidden. So what it is telling you that even if something goes beyond your element, don't show it. Because by default, eitherly it kind of wraps up in the same thing, eitherly it sends it over the object and in the outer sides and some sort of stuff that we really generally don't want. But it is actually meant for it because the first thing that HTML was made for was to share information, and information is pure text. So it was made with the thought, okay, whatever happens, text should not be hidden. That's why it is not hidden by default. Coming next, we have the game box, right? So what we will do, we'll create a simple rectangle that works like a charm for us. We will have a width of 500 pixels, height of 200 pixels, border 1 pixel, solid black. What we are doing, we are specifying the width of the border. We are specifying the type of border, solid, dash. There can be some more of them. You can see all of these on Mozilla Developer Network or maybe W3 schools and all stuff. There is a lot of reference online. And what does margin auto does? Any guesses? Let me tell you, margins are something that you can say like margins are the spaces outside of the element. Then comes the border. Then while you are handling the spacing inside the element itself, that is padding. Okay. So margin auto, what it might do. Any guesses? Quickly.
It adds the available space as a margin.
Okay, it does just much similar like that, but the thing is that it handles every other side as if it is okay. Yeah, I will be doing equal distance from all sides. Not for the top because by default it doesn't worries much about it. But for the left and right, it will do this like okay, I want equal space on left. I need equal space on right. So what will happen when you have equal spaces spacing on both sides? You are on the center, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
पूरा रह गया बाकियों को हो रहा है तो we will get on to the interesting interactive and follow up वाला part quickly. Let me know. Because at the end of the day, when you go for solid hard-coded games, this is something that you will love a lot. But right now, because you are not much familiar yet, and this seems something new, it may be a bit kind of something for you. Pranay says no. Okay, I will move forward if I get 5 no's in next 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on, amazing. Lovely audience. That's all we need. Perfect. So let's move on to our character. What will be our character? It will just be a rectangle, but because we have a border of black and a background of white, it won't do justice if we make it black. So here we have a red character. So much of creativity. Don't yes, that was a very bad choice, but yeah, for simplicity, I don't want to go into this color wheel part of the things where we have a lot of options. Let's stick to that because it is predefined in HTML. Okay, so we kept a width of 200. Remember, we are talking about pixels here, so we need to be cautious while defining them. We cannot switch these like making it 500 and making this 600 and this making 50 and this 20. That will completely destroy the whole layout of the game structure. That's when we need to be proportionate when it comes to things. The game should be biggest, small character would be small enough to play with, and other obstacles would be even smaller to jump over. Okay, so here we have width, height, background color. Because we have divs and divs are just nothing but blocks, so instead of we don't say that fill it with a color, we just say paint the background, because at the end of the day it was made for text, and text sometimes have a background, so that's why this property came into place, background color. Then we have position relative, because what is relative now? Relative is something that connects, instead of thinking of its own position from the complete document, it goes for the element it is inside of. For example, here the character is inside the division game, right? So it will think of its own positioning according to the spaces from the top left of the game div. Okay, then we have top. And also one more thing, if you're thinking for game development, CSS and all these things, if you want to learn about, the best way to do that is first get into it, try some properties yourself. Second, get a LinkedIn what we call a skill badge. It has a really amazing quiz, and that is where I learned CSS. Not to brag about, but I failed at it 2 times. The third time, it gave me some LinkedIn courses to learn from. Just on one of the catch in it, that I had only just one day to complete those courses. Otherwise, they would expire. But of course, after failing twice, you generally go for it. So I did. I completed all the course, and they were really, really difficult. क्या सोच रहे थे आसान होगा नहीं, they were really difficult, honestly. But yes, that is something where I got them cleared so well. And this is something that helped me a lot. Yesterday, we had Atif Hassan sir with us. He was quite happy when I solved one of his problem with his website, and that was something just because I knew CSS so well. That's it. See, so that something happens when you go into deep into stuff. You things get much easy for you. Like a random meet, just a small suggestion means a lot for them because they were struggling with it a bit. So we have something, and this top. Can you tell me what is this top? Let me give you a hint. We kind of touched position relative, so now it becomes implicit what we are talking about. Quick guess?
Position with respect to the top.
Yes. What we are specifying is from top, what will be the distance? And because we are inside something, like for example, we are inside a box of height 200, we have given a top of 150, means there is just 50 pixels left for us to make the character in the on the lower side. And because our height is also 50, it will appear as if it is on the lower edge of the box, but in the actual thing, like in the actual coding part and actual logic, it is actually 150 pixels away from the top, because by default it goes to the top left. So it is by 150 pixels away from the top, and because it is 50 pixels to be drawn further. So that's how it completes these 200. Getting it? Why we need to be cautious about pixels and lengths and sizing and all stuff? Yes or no? Quick. Yes or no? Cool. This is something very important because even in Scratch, that we'll be stumbling upon in a few minutes, there we will also cover the same concepts, but they will be much easier to understand because Scratch was meant for kids to learn from, but right now it is also a good place to prototype for game developers, because instead of creating the whole game in the first glance or actually drawing it frame by frame, it is sometimes a good option to prototype them on Scratch and then actually implement it for the platform that you are targeting. Okay, so here was our character. Next, we will move on to the final piece of our character, that is the animation, right? The class that we described. Okay, dot animate. That this was the class we used. We apply an animation onto this. What animation? Animation of jump. What is the duration? 0.3 seconds. If you have noticed, we have 0.3 seconds here, and we have 0.3 seconds here, because we know that the jump animation will take 0.3 seconds. That's why we have added a delay of the same amount. Also, this linear, this is some kind of a shorthand property that combines multiple properties of the animation attribute, of course. And if you want to look upon of this animation tag, animation property of CSS, so many similar terms. But this linear is actually something what says like what should be the something, what was it, like there are some options like infinite, linear, and all those stuff. What should be the, I guess, yes, that, yes, perfectly that animation flow, you can say. That's a good word for it. There are some technical terms that I'm not much sure. Maybe it was timing function. Yes, it was actually meant for timing function. There are some other of them. For example, if you go for linear, we saw infinite. There is ease in, ease out, ease in, out, step, start, step, end. So there are so many things that you can do with this. There is also cubic bezier that allows you to create complex wave functions for your timing. But generally, we don't use that much being web developers, but game developers use it a lot. For now, for the sake of this session, we'll keep it simple. But tell me something that will make it fail. Any guesses? Why this animate won't work yet? What is the missing piece?
Jump is undefined.
Exactly. There are some predefined animations, but jump is not one of them, because who thought that you will be jumping elements out in the midair, right? So let's define it. @keyframes is a CSS property that allows us to define some animations, keyframes that we can animate upon with our elements. So for our case, 0% would be top. Just 0% would be top 150, because as I said, we are talking about the 150 distance from the top, and if we are jumping above, this top would decrease. So that's why 30% we have 100, 70% we have 100, 100% we have again 150. Now this will work, because what it will do, it is on 150% distance from top. On 30% of the animation, it has already gone up to 100. Then on 70%, it has came back to 100, and it is coming back to 150 on the 70 and 100 the part of cycle. Seems good so far. There are just a few things left. Now we have our character animations in place, and we can do this called as, we have defined this, right? So I guess we can now tinker with this one. Where is that live server to play with? Give me a live server, please. I seem to have it, but where it is?
Right click, you will see.
Yes, open with live server. I actually am habitual with using the, yes, here it comes. See, I am habitual with this button. I never use the right click. So anyways, we can see we can click and it works well. Good for us. So just let's go ahead and see if what we can do, because right now we can. I guess you might not be able to see this, right? How do I show you? Any ideas, anyone? Like how to have in window browser? I'm not sure if it offers this or not.
What?
Open browser is not what I'm looking for. Browser preview, yes. Exactly the thing I was looking for. Because I'm handling a bunch of windows in the behind the scenes, so that I don't want to block your view. That it will be good enough that if it doesn't show the other windows. Give me a sec. Good things take time. So will this one do? Mute template type check, stop live server. Where is it? How to use you buddy? How can you? I see. It's a bit
That
good, but
base extension would work fine only.
which one? Live server?
Yes.
It works fine, but as I said, okay, let me do that for you. After all, जनता जो बोलेगी speaker वही करेगा. Let me switch to complete screen share. We might fall off the edge on time a bit, but yeah, it will be worth it for sure. You can see we are able to jump clicking anywhere in the world. No matter where we click, it jumps and works well. But the only thing is what to jump from. There is nothing to jump from, right? So what we will do is we will simply go to the CSS and apply some CSS to this one. The reason I didn't show the whole code at once, because think of it, if I bombard with a lot of code, it will be like, wait, what? Is it necessary? I don't want all these things to happen, and that's why I'm not going to put every single piece of code at once. Let's go step by step. Put this behind the bars. This is a culprit to break focus. Yes, so let's define the block. We have a block color of blue because we want to distinguish our character and the obstacle. Then we have a width of 20 pixel, a height of 20 pixel, a position of relative again. Can you tell me why? I guess you know it now.
It's relative to the body.
Yes, exactly. Like, see, we had 150 pixels from here, but what if it was not relative and absolute? I mean, by absolute, I mean compared to the whole window. This element would appear somewhere here and not inside the box. And why do we need this same property for our block? Because our block needs to appear in this area. and that also means that it needs to stick to the edge, so upper part should have complete white space. That's why we are giving it some top. 130 because the total width is 20 and height is 20. This 20 plus 130 becomes 150, right? So that makes sense. And from left 500, because we had our game with a distance of 500. So what will happen? If you remember, we did overflow hidden over here, right? Remember this overflow X hidden. What if we don't do it? Just give it a shot, comment it, and show this. Can you see? Now let me just remove the animation so we can see where it comes. Notice? And notice this. It's actually not inside the game in the first place, but still we can see it. The reason is because overflow X is not hidden by default. If we hide it, we cannot see it. And now when we start the animation, or maybe just change the 500 to 400, we can see it. Because the moment it goes out of the frame, it's something like a vanish for us, despite the fact it is just there. And this kind of illusions often go all the time when it comes to web development, especially if you are a UI developer. There are a lot of animations that are actually just magician like, you can say, like illusions and messing with your brains and some psychological biases and blind spots, you can say, just to have an illusion that yes, this is something new that you cannot think of. Give me a sec. Apparently the light, the emergency light's battery turned a bit less, so I put it on charge. Let's get back. Now give it an animation again, and it's going again, and the game is not stopping yet. Neither we are. It doesn't make much sense to jump because it will go anyway, right? So let's dive in. What is the next piece of the puzzle? Let's see. Text align center. I guess this is something that is not much. Excellent. Okay, this will just do the part for our score part, that it will put it on the center, this score. What if we don't do this? If we hide this P center, and if we hide these keyframes, the animation is not working and the score is on the left. This is the significance of these elements. If you don't have an animation, it won't work. It will be idle. And the one thing you should always remember when it comes to web development, HTML, CSS generally have no error throwing stuff. There is nothing like things will crash. It will just look bad. That's it. Something wrong, something strange, unnatural. But there is no errors as such inside HTML, because whatever you tell it to do, it will do. Yes, JS throws errors, but not the HTML, CSS. And that's it's something good, because we don't need to suffer from errors, but bad as well because we cannot spot the mistake we did. Sometimes it becomes difficult, especially opening and closing tags. Let's put it back again, and we are done with it. The only last thing to do is check if we are dead. Let's have that as well, where check dead. What will this do? Any ideas?
If the red block crashes on the blue one,
it will block red from the blue one, but just block, like then blue will be waiting, let me go. Or is it that what we want? We want to check if it is collided and then end the game. It will be the main thing that will be putting the game to an end. Okay, so these things we just want to run on an interval all the time. So let's just give it a set interval, and then we have function to work with. This is something called as shorthand functions, because we don't give a name, we don't give arguments. We can give arguments though, and there is this arrow operator that we use to define it. It is a simple function, arrow function we call it, to be precise. There are a few differences in arrow function and a standard functions. And the most basic difference that you might want to remember is that when you go for React and all those other stuff, when it comes to functions, you need to have your own context. In case of arrow functions, it uses the context it is defined in. So that helps a lot if you are into it, like for the long term. For game developers, it might be handy sometime, but not necessary. You always have some workarounds to work with. Let's see what we'll check if it is character on top. I just forgot. I'm not supposed to be typing because to save time, of course. So what is this line doing? Can anyone tell me? I need to document my code so make it readable. What this thing is doing? Window. Let's break it out. Parse int. It is something relevant to data type handling because yes, we need to be sure that we have a particular type of data. Otherwise, things will work unpredictably. So for that, we're using this type conversion. This is window or document, or you can say like any HTML document. When it comes to JS, we have these two global variables. One is this document variable, which has the complete DOM and all the stuff. Then there is this window, which has the browser related APIs or simply method calls that we are allowed to do. And there is this one thing called as get computed style of character, and then get its property value. Why are not we doing just get property value anyway? Like, why is this one extra thing here? Can anyone
specify the style?
Yes?
We have to specify the specific style to get its value.
We have to specify the style to get its value. That is what we are doing over here. Okay, we are getting the property value of top. But why we are doing this area? Why is this get computed style? Why? What is the computation going on?
We are telling the JavaScript to get the top value from character style.
You are absolutely correct, but you are just missing one piece of the game, one piece of the whole logic. Whenever we are doing animations, what we are doing, we are changing the top value, right? But at what moment we are doing matters a lot. And that's why this computed style is property is there, because what it will tell is not what is defined in CSS. It will tell what is the current computed CSS value which is being rendered inside the browser. Okay, there are these things, rendered and paint. These two things are going on in your browser all the time. And whenever you animate objects, the only thing is happening, the value updates and that frame is rendered. But because all of these things are happening so fast, it seems like a video and an animation. So that's why when it comes to like one single momentary value, we go for this get computed style of this element. And from that element, it will return an element just like this one, document.get element. But what we want from that element is the value, property value top of it. Okay, so now we have the character top, like where the character stands on the top margin. Yes. Okay, what is the top distance from the other element of it? The next thing we will be checking is block. Right, what is the blocks left? Now, can anyone tell me like why character top and block left? Because if you ponder upon this, we have defined those heights and widths, right? We can easily compute or simply logically implement in a small function that what will happen if this much values or this much difference doesn't exist anymore. Because of course, when you think of the game, what is happening on collision? Can you tell me what is the thing that is going on when it collides? Let's remove the animation for a second to understand what's going on. Then we, instead of left this much, we just give it, or let's make it 500 back again. Before the game will sometimes give me bad ideas to tinker with it and make it comment, so we don't have it. As I said, if we don't specify a value, it goes to the default one, and because we specified top already, so we have a left 0 which I defined, I guess. What if I don't define it? It is still there because by default both of them are 0. So what is collision? Collision is when this blue box comes to the distance of left equal to the width of this red block. So what is the width of the red block or the character? The character's width is 20 pixels. So if I give it 20 pixels, this is collision exactly, right?
Yes.
When the block is not 20 pixels or more above and the collision is happening with it, then the game should stop, and that is the logic we are implementing. Let me revert back to the actual game logic. Working fine. Games are addictive, no doubt on that. And so let's come back and do the final thing. So that is the exact logic going on here. Block left is smaller than 20 for the top value and greater than minus 20. Can you tell me why are we doing this? Like minus 20? Minus 20 is nothing but that the block has left the screen completely because the block itself is just 20 pixels in width, right? If it is collided and if it is greater than minus 20, so means it has not left the frame and it is still there, and character goes more down, that is greater than 130, because if it is at 130 it won't collide. 130 and 20 will complete the 150, the top that is meant, so it won't collide. We are just worried about the cases when it goes beyond 130. So that's why when this whole condition goes true, so we are completely sure that we have finished our game, right? Let me bring it in. So if this condition is true, game over, collision occurred. Okay. So first thing we do, we remove the animation. That's why animation block.style.animation none. We remove the animation from block. Okay. Then the favorite part of the game, declare results. Game over. Then we reset the counter to 0. Reset the counter to 0, which is nothing but prep for next game. And we also remove the animation. We add an animation on this, like what the animation is about. Block 1 second infinite linear. Why so? Let me refresh. Let me save. Has a new code, right? It does. Are we missing something? Okay, so we don't have interval. Let's define the interval. That's this is something what I said earlier, that generally you might not get errors. You will just have some unexpected results. Where is the hey? If we jump in right time, it is there. If we fail to jump, it's vanished, and we are not getting the scores. Why not? Because we have counter. We are not incrementing the counter. Yes, actually, we have the logic. So let me make it simple for you. What we are doing here, we resetted the counter, but wait, remember functions, scope. This counter is not in scope. Or sorry, we actually renamed it earlier, so let's rename it again. Happens by moment. Score counter. The main benefit of arrow functions, you use the scope of existing place instead of creating your own context. Let's see how it goes now. It's still falling. First point चल रहा 6 बजने वाले हैं. I am getting feedback from people. Okay, so let's do one thing. We will kind of wrap up it much faster. Let's just finish this one. We are not getting the score span, right? Score span, we have it. Strange, again, errors. That is the exact reason I didn't want it to go for such things over here. So let's wrap it up. I will share the code. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal to see the code. Can we move? Because there are things that are much intuitive and better to follow up and cover it within 15 minutes or 10 minutes. You say, go to the next or finish this one. Next or this? The answer key is this, not yes, because it is ambiguous. Next one. Any more next one? Next, yes. Another? Perfect, all good. So before we move further, let me give you this one idea of game development, because as I told you, I will be covering this one thing, this top down and bottom, a content reveal before the actual release. You might not be able to hear this one. Give me a sec. Quickly switching tabs. But where is the tab? Please show me. Yes, got it. We have two ways to approach any problem, top down and bottom up. What we do in top down, we create a basic module, define it, and go further breaking it down. Describe the end goal, break goals into tasks, break tasks into small tasks, and complete subtasks one by one. Bottom approach, exactly opposite. Identify atomic steps, finish step of alike steps, go to the next task, and validate using test and integration. That is one of the most simplest approach, but a challenge for me because it is a 30-second reel. So let's get back to the session, and this time it will be much more intuitive because we are stepping into Scratch. Okay, let's create a new project. Now, if you allow me, can I make it a little bit less interactive because we have to catch up with the time? Quick yes or no? I will be watching the message area, so don't worry. What we are making here, we are just creating the same game again. One of those games. We will see if we have some time. First of all, we will create a backdrop. Let's choose a good one, the broad walk. Then we'll choose an element. We are kind of making a fall and catch game, so I think some kind of basket or bag, something. Okay, we have a bowl. That's good. Now what we want to do with this bowl, we want to move it around left or right. So we need to have the change the x coordinates. Now here there is this one thing. If you can't see, let me make it big. So you can see there is minus 47. See, there is this positive x, negative x, positive y, and negative y. Okay. So the whole thing is derived on this concept that x0 and y0 starts at center of the whole frame. So accordingly, I will need to change it. What I need to do is I want to go right. So for that, I need to change the x coordinate by 10 or some value. So let me go to motion. I need some change x by 10. Let me see if it works. Yes, it is working. I need to allow this action to be available on every click. So for that, I need to go for any events. Yes, when space is pressed. No, I don't want a space. I need a right arrow. Yes. So let's see if it works. Yes, it's going left. It's going right. Now I just want another similar case or situation, but for the left going. Let's add some motion to this. And here we go by changing the x to 10. But wait, something's wrong. I press right, it goes right. I press left, it goes right. What to do? I have to just make negative. Yes. Who said this? Shamsundar, you said?
Yes.
Cool. Good point. Because at the end of the day, these are just coordinates, and that's why we check the coordinate system first. Because back in the game, we had a coordinate system of top left as 0. Here we have center as 0. Okay, so let me check if it works as well. We can go left, we can go right. Yes, it's somewhat off, like not going well. So let me do this one thing. Let me create it inside. Let's go on to the next part and make it a bit more interactive, like having some new elements in it, right? So what we need something to catch. What to catch? What is a good thing to catch? All can be basic. Like apples can be a good thing. But because I want to make it fall from above, so I will go for y around y 188. So let's make it go to a random position, but random position on top only. So what? How do we do it? Whenever the game starts, okay. Whenever the game starts, like whenever green flag is clicked, what to do? Go to a random position, right? But we don't. We want a custom y positions. For that, set y to 183 or actually just 180. Let's see if it works. Yes, it is positioning on random places. Now I also want to make it fall. So what I will do is glide it to glide 1 second to. Will this work? Okay, it is going from minus 180 to somewhat left to right. That's not what I want, but it's a good feature. Like, yeah, fun to use. Anyways, let's go to a forever loop. Put a forever loop. What to do here? We have to just change the motion and make it fall. What is falling? It is the value of y decreasing. So let's just do one thing. We change y by 10, or actually minus 10, because we want to fall, not go above. And when to trigger this? Again, simply whenever the game starts. Yes, it is falling again. Now the problem is we have just one apple, kind of poor, and it's going down and just staying there. So what I want to do, if it goes on the edge, like on the lower edge, I want to make it go above to the top. So let's see if I can do that. When this split is clear, let me see what options I do have. So I want to just check if, okay, if that's a keyword, if I have something like that, what if the y of this goes beyond 190 or 180. So for that I need operators, right? So for if y goes below, okay, from what it goes below, minus 180, because our bowl is at one, or where it is. It is at 116, so it definitely doesn't matter if it goes any more than that. If it doesn't, it won't make any sense. So what we'll do, we'll just give it a y. How to give this the y? Where is my variables? I want to have my variable this y of this one. Motion. Where do I? Yes, I have this y position. Now what to do when it goes there? Just simply do this. Make a duplicate of this and put it here. Let's see if not working. Oh, I missed to add the trigger, right? So let's give this the same trigger as well. When clicked, or no, this is not working. What's wrong with it? Let's put that in the loop. Yes, and it's working fine. Now the next part, we need some idea for this bowl to catch the apple. So what will happen in there? For example, what we'll do, we are just moving it right on left. There's something wrong. This should not be this kind of discrete. We need it to make it be a bit more smoother. Meanwhile, let's think of how to make it work, right? Okay. We have it here. Oh yes, we can do this via the y variables of it, right? So we definitely need the motion, and we need to see what is the y variable, y value of. Or I think there's a good way to make it smoother. We can just make a, first of all, event when the game starts, then add a forever loop, right? And put these, instead of like this one, we use an if else statement. We need a event over here. So what we'll need when this, if key is pressed, I need such an event. Okay, so that falls into the sensing part. If it is not touching, if it is pressed, key pressed, yes, this one. Key which one? Right arrow. Change with like that. And now I also want a duplicate of this one for the other condition. This time it is for left arrow and make it -10. Let's see how does it works. Yes, now it is much smoother. That's actually interesting now. Please stop. Yes, thank you. Let's delete these boxes now because we don't need them anymore. And that was all much for this element. Now we need to go for the apple. We need to like reset it if it falls below the screen or if it falls inside the this bowl. So what we do, just simply double click, and if we have just duplicate this block, one block, and if it touches this time, let me drink water a bit. Yes, coming back. We need to do the same thing, but the condition is a bit different. So that comes under sensing. If it touches the bowl, then take it to the random position. Does it works? And it does. We can do a few variations if you allow me for 5 minutes, like making it a 6:30 session, and we are kind of skipping on a few things, which I think would be a good idea now to share on resources part as well. This is addictive, honestly, I'm telling you. Did that cover complete? Awesome. So there is this one thing that was taught to me and now to all of you from Neeraj. Yes, one of the two people who was helping me creating all these experiences. What he said, like, why can't I go beyond this frame? I just want to go beyond, like thinking of infinity, Ramanujan thoughts. But again, a really good idea. He started, had some troubles, but again, because it is at the end of the day, all of this is programming, I was able to help him in a bit, but really great idea. Also, we can add some sounds if you want. Okay, not here. Hey, I just want that one block. When to add that sound is when we actually click it. So when it touches, then a sound of eating it. You can hear it, right? It's kind of blocking the flow. So let's do one thing. Go to above first, and then plays the sound. It's kind of blocky. Strange. I didn't like this time. It was good before that. Anyways, getting back to the point, what we need to do when we go outside, what is happening? I'm the wrong element. Just a sec. Yeah. So what I need to do whenever I go from beyond 255 of X, I need to reset it to the left. So let's just do. If that's why you might think now that Joe introduction to C programming was actually a good subject to work with, right? So now if it goes, if X variable, X position, okay, I need an operator to work with, is greater than 255 or maybe 254 because the max is 255. What to do? I have to set the motion of this to set X to negative 255. Okay, let's test it out. Yes, we have an infinite right side going bowl. Kind of strange as well to see, but it's unique. So now let's make another, this time without X position, this time for Y position. Oh, sorry, it was just for X position, but operator would be a bit different. So let's take the operator out, get a new one, This time less than, put X over there, remove this one. And instead of setting it to minus 255, this time we set it to plus 255. And here we go. Okay, something's unusual happening. Bugs. We need to make it smaller. If it goes smaller than negative 254. So let's see. I think that will be a bit extreme for this one because that might, okay, that worked. Again, Neeraj, we had our night a bit bad, nightmare for no reason. It worked this time. That's all. And if you want to do something like having some scores here, we can just make a variable score. Now we can see a score, and the score should increment each time we succeed in touching the apple in time. So for that, we just go to the apple. Are rukna bhai? Yes. We have the apple. When we are touching it, we put it on the random position, but also we this time increment the score. How we increment the score? We set the value, change it, not set, change it by 1. Change the variable score by 1. You can see now, if we manage to successfully capture, okay, let me stop and start again. Score 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I'm kind of stuck. Wow. Yeah, cool. See, now it works. And we can also do one thing. We can add a miss variable. That is also something amazing that he created. What we are doing is, whenever the apple falls, check if increment the what we have to do is just increment this variable, change the variable miss by 1, and if we have missed more than 3, okay, variables, I need an operator, more than 3, what more than 3, miss, then we can just simply stop the game. And how do we stop it? We go for events. Where was it? Stop all, yes. Okay, so miss 22 it was, so it did stopped. Let's see if it was. I think I should, before starting, I should reinitialize the variables as well. So my variables, set miss to 0, set this score to 0, and then run a forever loop. I missed 1. I'm getting good score. Oh, I missed this one. I missed this one again, and I miss. Okay. If I missed more than 4, 3, it fails. So that is the whole game. I hope you like it. We are at 6:32 right now, so I don't think I should touch the other ones. But yes, this jumping game is also similar, made into this Scratch, and I hope this is much more intuitive to work with. Once you are done with the game logic, you have to just implement in the platform you are aiming for. That's all from my side for now. Otherwise, organizers will kill me for going over time. Any questions? And the whole purpose of this session, maza aaya, aur ye maza, I hope you get the point. Any questions?
Any questions you all can ask now.
So far, I think there is a less likelihood of questions being from this session, but instead some open-ended questions can be there. So either of them, please bring it on. Would love to discuss. What should I do being a beginner? I would suggest strongly to play with Scratch. It is really so much fun, and I and Neeraj had an amazing time creating those basic games. And there is a lot of do in Scratch, because there is not just these elements. You can actually create your own custom elements as well. For example, you can You can do your own painting, you can create your own objects, you can create your own backdrops. There is so much to do in here. And there are sounds as well, custom sounds if you want. There is a complete library of those sounds to play with. There are some chords and musical notes, so you can even create a piano or a complete instrument maybe. There is a lot of things to play with in Scratch, and when you feel like, yes, this idea is really great and I need to make a game out of it, that can be used by anyone. And if you want to go for a web game, you have to just do one thing. Okay, the benefit of working in Scratch is that you can simply embed this game into a project, like into a website directly. You have to just do this one thing called as embed. I don't see it where it is. See inside, let me copy link or add to studio. But there was this one thing I can't remember. Shared. Okay, strange. Project page. Add to studio. No, that's not what I wanted. Yes, you can do this. Copy. You can just copy this embed and embed it inside your own website or wherever you want to. So you are making games for fun. You have started creating games. People can play your games as well, and you will start getting feedback to improve. And that's where you learn a lot, because there will be people who will be interested into having some custom thought games, like something just out of the box, very basic, but they just want to someone to make and play such games. That is a good moment to actually dive into some complex areas. For example, Python Pygame. Then you might move on to Python Turtle. Then you might move on to some JavaScript game frameworks. There are, I guess, JS games or something kind of. These libraries are also available over there. Then you might stumble upon 2D game rendering frameworks. Then you go into 3D game rendering frameworks. Then comes the Unity and Unreal part of it, because that is kind of way too much complex for beginners, but way too much interesting for experienced or intermediate game developers. I hope that answers. And of course, the best part, don't forget to recreate what people have already created and call it your own project. Because if you have created anything from scratch and you have followed the whole process and you are confident that yes, I can make this without watching it once, I can make it with my mind only. I know the whole process. I have to just follow it and I know I will make it. Then it is your project. You can call it yours. Of course, make some changes to make it distinct, but it doesn't mean if it is not distinct and you can make it, it's still yours. Yep, thank you. Awesome. Any more questions? Thank you, sir. Session was really interesting. That's exactly what was my goal here. I was suggested that we should go for hard coded stuff, but I knew that for beginning, hard coding is not that much interesting, and that's why I think is that Scratch is so popular as well. Because when it comes to game development, it is a starting point for any game developer. Because this doesn't disappoint you a lot. You can think, yes, it is going wrong, instead of focusing on the language and errors and bugs and threads and all the stuff. Any other reviews, suggestions, feedback? कुछ भी बोलना तो बोल दो. All yours. Questions are preferred, anyways. If you have any, I'm here for more 3 minutes if you want, and maybe longer if I get some good questions.
Okay, so I would now like to present the vote of thanks.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I am Tejasvi Patnaik, and it's my privilege. I guess someone asked a question right now.
Did anyone?
Okay. Okay, no.
Okay.
Okay, continuing. I am Tejasvi Patnaik, and it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks. On the behalf of IEEE YCC SB, IEEE Bombay Section, IEEE Nagpur Subsection Student Activity Committee, I broaden a very hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Anmoldeep Singh, Thank you, sir, for illuminating us with your insight. Today's webinar was full of knowledge and brimming with fascinating things. It gave a profound experience into the topic and also revealed some interesting points. I'm pretty sure that this session will help our participants to complete the challenges very well, as no program can ever be fruitful with a solitary individual. So I extend a big thanks to our whole student committee for their support and cooperation. Thank you guys for making this event successful and effective with your contribution. I would like to thank the participants for their interest. Hope it sustains till the end of the challenge week. Thank you all.
Hey, please do share today's code for demo game if possible. Surely I can do that. How I should share the code? Like what media should be allowed? Team, are we sending them some mail or I should drop in the chat right now? WhatsApp group? Yeah, that will be.
I think Anmoldeep, you can contact Ronak for this.
Sure. So we will make sure that you get all the codes. Don't worry about it. I'll get in touch with Ronak. I hope that goes. Is that cool, Himanshu? All good?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is 6:40. May I have your leave if there are no questions or something to discuss? Thank you so much, sir. Wow, these caps lock and explanation tells a lot. Thank you, sir, for today's session. All my pleasure. I'm glad that it helped. Welcome. Thank you for being here, everyone. It was such a you can say responsive and alert audience too, like you. Sayonara. Yes, bye-bye. Thank you. It's really nice one. That's what it has to be because, yeah, that's all made for you. Thank you, Anmoldeep. Great session. Thank you, Trishita, for giving me this chance. Today's session was splendidly awesome. That something marks the success. Agam or Neeraj, did anyone recorded this one?
No, it's on YouTube. YouTube Live is going on.
Okay, thank God. Okay, so with that, I may take a leave. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. So the session was very insightful and actually increased my interest in game development now. Salman, there is a lot of things. Don't worry about it. Like whatever field you choose, there are so many intricate details that fascinate you. It's game development, machine learning, other areas. Personally, I'm also interested in aeronautical engineering and all those stuff because every such domain has some beauty in it. It's just that the beauty comes in the last once you understand almost everything. Almost, I would say, because yes, there are many parts to learn, even though you become expert. And I would say for you that the journey is just getting started, buddy. So keep up with it. You will see a lot of amazing things coming next.